Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday, where our guest, Tori McCullough, will be speaking. We're so excited to have her. We will be getting started right at 12 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us today with our 11th passenger, Tori. We are going to get started right at 12 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We are very excited to have our 11th passenger, Tori McCullough, with us. We will get started right at 12 o'clock. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We have our 11th passenger, Tori McCullough, with us. We will get started right at 12. Happy to have you here on our Friday Zoomcast. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started in about a minute and a half. Thank you for joining us today. All right, we're going to get started in just about 1 minute. Thanks so much for joining us on Zeitgeist Spirit of the Time Zoomcast.
Becky, there's something wrong with you.
Thank you again for everyone joining us today on Zeitgeist Spirit of the Time Zoomcast. Our 11th passenger is Tori McCullough, and we are very excited to have her. We will get started in just a second. Right. Welcome to Zeitgeist Design and Production. I'm Becky Kiefer, Studio Director. Time travel is the ultimate experience. In fact, it's probably the most immersive and interactive attraction ever imagined. And here in the Zeitgeist Creative Studio in Pasadena, California, imagination rules and time is always of the essence. This is where experiential entertainment vets Ryan Harmon and Joanne Cicero study the past and spin the present, envisioning the future of UXIRL, user experiences in real life. The Spirit of the Time Zoomcast offers a sneak peek behind the themes. Each month, we move you without a ride system, inviting one incredibly talented and accomplished colleague aboard our time machine. We journey through that person's career, unraveling the mystery of what makes a guest experience timely, yet timeless. And because we're live, you're welcome to type in any questions into the chat box, and our passenger will answer them after the hour in an unrecorded and off-the-record Q&A. Climbing aboard our time machine today is a 40-year veteran of Walt Disney Imagineering, Tori Atencio McCullough. Born into Disney royalty as the daughter of famed animator, writer, and lyricist Atencio, Tori has designed or managed the interior design of Disney theme park shops, restaurants, and resorts around the world. She's also the co-author of the new Women of Walt Disney Imagineering book released earlier this week. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our time machine pilots, Zeitgeist President and Chief Creative Officer Ryan Harmon, and Zeitgeist Executive Vice President and Chief Art Director Joanne Cicero, along with our very first passenger to meet Walt Disney, Tori Atencio McCullough. Yay!
Oh, right. Wait, we okay, stop that. Okay, we just returned from 2007, and it was the 40th anniversary of Pirates of the Caribbean.
My favorite attraction.
Everyone's favorite. Everyone's favorite
Yes,
attraction.
and Tori, how lucky and awesome that you got to experience that probably before it even opened.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, right. Not.
Anyway, but here we are now, back in 2022 with
Yep.
Tori. Tori, so great to have you here with us today. And I couldn't help, watching the little slideshow. I mean, how fortunate and privileged all of us who work at Disney, it's like, I often said to people, it's like the military. You join the military, see the world, work for Imagineering, you see the world, and all the great memories, and for me, it was always about the journey and not the destination. And all of us had these incredible, experiences there. And I was thinking back, when we knew we were going to talk to you, and always the first thing that comes up in my mind, more than the attractions that we built and the process of the attractions, were the experiences that we had together. And I remember riding bicycles with you in Papenburg, Germany, around the shipyard as we were working on the cruise ships, and so many other great memories. But anyway, we have so much to cover today, and it's so great to have you here. So let's dive into it. So Ryan, where are we on the time machine?
Let's set the time machine, Tori, to 1964. And here we are in Burbank at the Walt Disney Studios in a sound stage.
Ooh, what's going on?
What's going on here, Tori?
Well, back in 1964, when I was in about second grade, and my sister and I were lucky enough to get to go to the Mary Poppins set with my dad. And we brought friends, a couple of friends each, and we went and we had lunch at the commissary, and then we went to the sound stage to see where they were filming the nursery scene. And the nursery scene was especially special because that was the scene my dad had been working on. He did the stop action animation of the toys going back into the toy chest and cleaning up the nursery. So before we went, I said to my dad, because every second grader had an autograph book back then, and I said, should I bring my autograph book in case we see Walt Disney? And he says, no, there's nothing going on the set that day. There won't be anybody there. I'm just taking you to see the set. So we said, okay. So we get to the set, and who walks in but Walt Disney?
Man.
So,
Wow.
so I was so mad that I didn't have my autograph book, but we were very excited that we got to meet him and shake his hand. And
Wow.
so
Was he in a suit on the weekend, or was he a little more?
no, it wasn't a weekend. It was during the
Oh, it was a
week.
weekday. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So he had his whole suit
Yeah.
and his.
And he looked
dress.
like Walt Disney. I don't remember from when I was
He looked like
8
Walt
years
Disney.
old. It was Walt Disney.
That's very cool. We're very
Wow,
jealous.
very jealous. Wow. Now, was that the one and only time you met him?
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
it. Wow.
Well,
that's
2
good.
years later, I think you said your dad took it really hard when he passed away.
Yeah, he did. That was
Yeah.
very hard. It was the first time I'd ever seen my dad cry.
Oh,
So-
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
the world
It was
changed.
hard on the whole, everybody there. That was really a tough time.
Yeah. So the next year, 1967, Pirates opens. Walt doesn't get to see it,
Wow.
sadly. Did you get to go to the opening with your dad? And what was it like to hear his voice and hear the song he wrote?
No, I don't remember going to the opening. We didn't go to the opening, but
Okay.
I think, after it opened, then the family went down, on the next Sunday or whatever, and we wrote it and heard his voice saying "Dead men tell no tales." He never lost that. He could say that until he was 97. He could go. And
God love him.
oh my gosh, I've even got a video of him in one of his hospital stays where he was singing Pirates of the Caribbean, singing the
Oh,
song.
wow.
Yo Ho Yo Ho.
Did he
Yeah.
also write Grinning Ghosts?
Yes.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, so that was fun, and it's funny because even today I have reconnected with some 8th grade classmates, and when we reconnected, I can't tell you how many said, "I never go on that ride that I don't think of you and your dad, and I always wave at Mr. Atencio and I go down the waterfall." And
That's so sweet.
That's
Yeah.
great.
yeah.
So Tori, so backing up a little bit, you're born into this Disney family, you're surrounded by creativity, like many of us who, went on to, pursue a creative career, for many of us, it wasn't a choice, it was just in us. But
Yeah.
so when did you first know or decide that you wanted to, pursue something in the creative field?
I don't know when the aha moment was, but I do remember as a child in grade school, drawing houses, designing houses, and drawing plans, and I was always very intrigued by that. And I actually wanted to be an architect. That's what I wanted to do. And people told me, "Oh no, you've got to be good at math to be an architect." So I said, "Well, I'm not good at math." So I chickened out and I went the other way. I did the next best thing, which was interior design, which turned out to be quite fine. And I'm very pleased with that decision. But yeah.
It's funny you say that you weren't good at math because our friend Joe Garlington would always say when we'd have a meeting and they'd have to bring in the bean counters or whatever, he goes, "Well, glad they're there because I went to art school."
Yeah, but the irony is, Joe, that later in my career, when I went into management, I had to do Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I kind of did exercise the other side of my brain.
Yeah, of course.
So you did go to Loyola Marymount, and that's where you started taking interior design courses?
Yes, I took my
Okay.
first interior design class there as an elective, and it hooked me.
Oh.
But that was it. That was all they offered. So
So what'd you do?
what did I? So I found out about this new program that was at UCLA, this UCLA extension, and they had an interior design program. It was very early on in the program. And so once a week or twice a week, I would drive down the 405 to UCLA from LMU and take my interior design classes. So I had enough in my portfolio then to go to apply at WDI when I graduated from school.
Wow.
So-
So we're here now in 1976 and you get hired. It sounds like you did a few things. You got to work with John Hench and do a few things before you went into the real interior program. Is that
Well,
true?
no, that was my summer job.
Oh, that was your
Oh,
summer
your
job.
summer job.
Yeah,
So,
I
okay.
worked there during the summer because that's what you just did. That all the employees got
Wait, hang
summer
on
jobs for their
1
kids.
second. Our time machine is having a little problem. Sorry. Okay. Sorry,
Okay.
can you say that one more time?
no. So that was summer jobs.
Uh-oh.
I worked for 4 summers
Hang
there.
on, wait, we're having a problem. We're having a technical difficulty.
Woo.
There we go.
Sorry. Give us a try again.
Summer jobs.
There you are.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, sorry.
So-
Okay, here we are back.
So,
So I had summer jobs for 4 years during college.
Okay, sorry.
sorry, give us 1 second. We are having a speaker problem. I'm so sorry, guys. Where's the speaker? Speaker.
There's sound, no sound, there we go. Okay, sometimes the time machine doesn't like to behave properly. All righty.
Okay. Sorry, can you say something now?
Hello. Summer jobs.
No, or sorry, 1 sec. We're not getting any sound. No.
Well, if everybody else can hear me, I will say that it's so wonderful to see all these familiar names
Sorry.
and faces on here.
I don't know what to do.
Yes, we can all hear you fine, Tori. I think just the time machine computer is having a little hiccup at the moment.
No, no.
Maybe my weekend.
Might have-
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties on the time machine.
Time travel is
Can
hard,
people at home
Alan.
hear
Thank
us?
you.
Wave your hand if you can hear us.
We can hear you guys.
Oh, you can hear us,
Oh,
but
you
you
can?
can't, can you hear Tori? Wave your hand if you can hear Tori
Okay,
too.
so
Okay, we just can't hear Tori.
We cannot hear Tori.
Okay. Oh, that's fine then. We can just.
No, it's all fine that we can't.
Um,
That makes interviewing a little difficult.
It does.
Sorry, Tori. Let's see if this will-
mhm. There we
Can you-
go.
Can you play out of your sound?
Okay, all right, here we go. Tor-
Okay,
Okay, Tori.
okay, we're back.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah, okay, we can hear you.
Yay.
All right,
Okay.
so where were we? We
So
were,
1976, you worked summer 72 to 76, right? And you got to work with John Hench and in the library and stuff?
yeah, what were some of the things you got to do?
I worked in accounting.
How ironic.
Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony. Yeah, I did the accounting for a summer. I subbed for John Hench's secretary at the time. I was the only one that she would leave John with when she went off on her 2-week vacation. So at like what, 18, 19 years old, I'm John Hench's secretary for 2 weeks.
Wow.
I mean, you can't, that just like right now, that just like blows your mind, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that was terrific. I mean, because we got really close, he saw me grow up basically, and
Wow.
one day he actually said that to me. He said, Tori, when did you grow up? He goes, I remember you running around here in mini skirts and this young girl, and here you are.
Jeez.
Wow. And I imagine that you continued your relationship with John through your entire career. I mean, John was just such a great resource, and I
Yeah.
always felt like people didn't take advantage of the fact that we had this guy, who not only worked so close with Walt, but he just had this wealth of information and just such a brilliant, brilliant man. So again, looking back, so fortunate
He was he knew so much about so many things. He was so well read and so talented, and he was like Yoda, right? I mean, he just
exactly. He was a philosopher. I mean, he always had kind of a higher view of things.
So
that
was how I started, and that's how I got to know, WED at the time, and that's why I decided that when I graduated, I wanted to go work at WED, and I wanted to be in the interior design department, and so that's what I did. I just went with my little portfolio and landed a job.
Awesome. So you went in around 1978, and they were working on the third Disney theme park of all time, Epcot Center. So what was it like to come aboard and be part of Walt's final dream?
Well, it was a very exciting project. It was very different than anything we'd ever done before. And
very different.
Yeah, very different. And we were just young kids. We didn't really know how hard it was going to be to accomplish what we were trying to accomplish. But it was a great learning opportunity, and we got to work with the best in the business. Art directors from Hollywood and veterans like my dad and Claude Coates, and, on and on. So it was a great opportunity. And so then we all most of us got to go to the field and build it. And that was another learning experience. And so that was our foundation. I think it's, our generation's foundation, so to speak.
Yeah. There's so many classes now on theme park design, and you can go online and there's a million speeches by everybody that ever touched a theme park or did. Yeah. But the truth be told, I mean, it's really the best learning I got, and what I'm hearing from you was getting your feet dirty and your hands dirty in the field. And I always remembered Marty saying early on when I transferred over to Imagineering, and he later kind of backed away from this comment, but he said that 70% of our projects are made in the field. In other words, you can have a great set of drawings, you can build the model, but when the rubber hits the road, it was what happened in the field. And I think that's where we all really learned what it takes to make a Disney project, because there's so many moving pieces, and all of a sudden you're there, and you have to make a decision right at this moment. Okay, no, there's a stud there, so that light can't go there. I guess it's going to have to go there, right?
Yeah. But unfortunately, that's been lost in the rest of the industry.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't understand that it all really happens in the field. So we've had the experience where they hire us to design it, and then they say, "Okay, we're going to do it with our local guys," and it's like, what?
Okay, which we'll get to that when you get to Shanghai. I'm sure.
Exactly.
But anyway, continuing on, where are we now?
So we're here in 1982. Epcot opens October 1st, right? And a lot of people get laid off. This is the era that created all the companies, Technofacts, and all the different design firms and special effects firms and stuff. But you, Tori, survive. So what happens now that Epcot's open?
Well, there was still work to do, and
what pavilions did you work on? I think we forgot to ask. What exactly you worked on today?
The original Epcot that opened in 1982. I worked on Germany, a couple of the shops, and the beer garden, and I worked on the Mexico Pavilion, a lot on the Mexico Pavilion, and I worked a little bit in Future World on Spaceship Earth and things like that. A little bit here and there, but those were my big ones. And then in 82 or 83, then they started adding more pavilions, and so they added China. So I got involved with the China pavilion. I did the restaurants there, and then eventually we started working on the Norway pavilion, and then I worked on that.
So you mentioned Germany and you mentioned China and then Norway. Did you get to travel to all those places to do research? Because I know later on in my career, it was almost became a joke, that, everybody was on a boondoggle somewhere
Right.
on the planet. But I also know that early on, that wasn't so much the case.
Yeah.
I know there's that famous picture of Herb Ryman doing a drawing of New Orleans Square. It's in that famous National Geographic that was
Okay.
devoted to Imagineering or to Disney.
And he was in New Orleans?
No, he
Oh.
was at his desk. He was surrounded by
Oh, by
books.
books,
And I
yeah.
asked Marty about that. Marty said, yeah, that's right. We had the research library.
Yeah.
And he said, very few people actually went to those
Yeah.
places. You went to the research library, got
Right.
a pile of books,
Right.
read up on it. This is even before the internet where, you could type in,
Yeah.
Germany, all the stuff came up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was interesting. So
That's
did you get to
exactly-
visit any of those places?
Well, it wasn't until the first part of Epcot was all done off of research, and we used to have picture files in the library.
Yeah.
They would just cut out pictures from magazines, and that was one of my summer jobs, was filing all those pictures that you cut out of magazines, categorize them into what you were looking for. French cafes, French shops, whatever, right?
Ah.
Right.
So it was all done off of books and those pictures. Then China too. I never got to go to China. I got there eventually. But not
Yeah,
yet.
eventually, yes.
And then Norway, they did start sending people a little bit, and I didn't get to go until the very end, and I was the interior designer on the lead interior designer on Norway, and I was also responsible for buying props. So I was also the
Wow.
prop buyer.
Fun.
Yeah, which was an unusual job for me. It was fun. And so they sent me to Norway, and one of the pictures they showed at the beginning was with my husband and I, Mike, with Bob Jolly and his wife, who was the lead art director. We went together to do research and for me to buy props. So everywhere we went, they took us around, they showed us, it was an unbelievable tour of Norway. And then I just go to these antique stores and buy props.
Wow.
And they
What a great
opened up,
kid.
Yeah.
they opened up a Norwegian checking account for me because
Oh,
because I couldn't carry enough
traveler's checks.
That's what we used at the time,
Yeah.
and we didn't have company credit cards, and so they
Wow.
opened up a checking account, and I had my own Norwegian checking account that I wrote.
That's so cool.
That's great.
Wow,
Well,
that's a great story.
so you mentioned Mike.
Yeah, where did you meet Mike?
Mike,
You know him, your husband.
Mike and I met in 1980 when he was working on Epcot 2. He was one of the legions of young people who they hired to design and build Epcot. And he was in R&D. And so we happened to be on the same co-ed softball team together. That's it.
Oh. I think you hit a home run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So 1984 is when you got married, and soon thereafter, Joe and I joined Imagineering in 87.
And the big project was Euro Disney.
Disneyland. Yeah, so tell us about that.
So then we started working on Euro Disneyland, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And my role at Euro Disneyland was the lead, two things. I was the lead interior designer for the
Okay.
project, which meant that I had to manage all of the interior designers on the team and hire interior designers on the team. And then I also was on the Fantasyland team. And the Fantasyland team, I got to design some restaurants there. That was my thing. I got to do Auberge de Cendrillon, which was one of the flagship restaurants there, and Toad Hall and Village House. Those were my three. So I was
and
quite
the castle, right?
And the castle. I worked on
Designed
the castle.
by our colleague Tom Morris.
Yes.
Our first passenger on the
Our
time
first
machine.
passenger,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw a photo of you laying with all of those giant artworks that you did for the castle. What were those?
That was the artwork for the tapestries that we sent the artwork to Aubusson, and they made they wove the tapestries in Aubusson, which is very well known for tapestries over the century.
Wow.
So before Disneyland Paris opened, you produced another small project about this big. I'm not going to say how did that happen. But was the child born in Paris, or did you come back for that? Oh wow, cool.
Very good timing. Very good timing. She came right between design and construction. So
Perfect.
after the design packages went out, she was born, and then I took a few months off and then went back to work.
You put that in the schedule, I'm sure.
Somebody did.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So her first
She
few
was a
years
miracle.
were, did she learn French? Did she?
Not there. We were only there. She was 2 years old when we left.
Yeah.
So she did not learn French.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
That's cool.
You know, when you were mentioning all the shops and the restaurants that you worked on, I mean, I got to say, Disneyland Paris probably has the most richest,
Absolutely.
interiors and the beauty of it. Because I know I remember listening to Tony talk. He said, yeah, we're putting this park in the backyard of people that live in that world. You know, they have real castles and they have all these gorgeous interiors. So your job was, to kind of meet that or even raise it. And of course, you guys did an amazing job. And I think
that was
still
totally
to today, probably Tokyo DisneySea and Disneyland Paris together. I mean, probably equal in terms of the level of beauty and, just richness of detail and design without a design.
Well, and the funny thing is that park was so rich with props. And especially Merlin's shop in the castle. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but Mickey Steinberg said to me afterwards, he said, "Tori, I hope you had a good time because you ain't never doing that again."
That's awesome. That's a good impression.
So when we opened up Tokyo DisneySeas, which totally exceeded what we had done for Paris, I wanted to call Mickey and go, "Mickey, I did it again."
If you're listening, Mickey, she did it again.
And actually, one could argue too that you probably did it a third time with a lot of the work in Shanghai, because that park also has a really high level of finish.
Yeah. So we're in 92 now. You fly back to Glendale again. Layoffs. That's when I got let go. So you survived again. And now you're working with our friend Joe Rohde on one of the coolest parks ever designed and built. Tell us about that.
Well, that was really fun. Animal Kingdom. We started on that, and I was lucky enough to get to go on one of those boondoggles.
Very good.
Finally, and I went on a terrific Southeast Asia tour with Joe and many of the team members. And we went to Bali,
Bali, wow.
Bali and Nepal, and it was fantastic. It was a great trip and I learned the value of those trips because you really do see things when you can see it and smell it and feel it. It is completely different than looking at a coffee table book or the files at the IRC. And it was, because you see a lot of things, and that's the beauty of Animal Kingdom is it is gritty, right? It is gritty. That African village is so realistic, and it's because the people who designed it were there and they saw it and they felt it, and the things that they put into it would not have been in a picture that somebody was taking of a pretty picture, right? It was, like all the electrical and phone lines all tangled,
I was just going to comment on that because I remember first when Asia opened, I went down to see it for the first time, and I got to, because I was working in Japan, I got to travel a lot around Asia, and I actually did a project in Singapore, and we went to one of these little out islands, not off the coast of Singapore. And I remember one of the things that impressed me were all those the crazy wiring, which is
Disney park.
Yeah, I remember, and then I remember walking into Animal Kingdom, and I go, crap, they did it. I mean, it's just like, and you're right. I mean, you had to experience that, and particularly doubtful that would be something somebody would put in a beautiful picture book about something. But I mean, it just adds that level of authenticity and reality to it. And Joe Rody, if you're watching Bravo, I know it was often joked about how much Joe traveled, but at least he took that and used it in the biggest way possible.
Yeah, and our friend Chris Runco, who I see is on today, who designed Harambe Village. Amazing job. To all of you. And you're right, Tori. It added, there was something more than to the experience. And when I'll use that word, authenticity again. Those parks are the most authentic in terms of really recreating a time and a place where the Magic Kingdom parks and to a more or less degree, even TDS, there's still a fantasy piece of it. But I think those trips, when you're building a real place, were so valuable, and it shows. It's there. Yeah. So Tori, at this point in your career, I believe you're making a transition from being the designer to now being the guru of all design and managing design. So what was that like, transitioning from having the fun to doing the work?
Well, I have to say I enjoyed the management part of it. It was a challenge. It was fun. I mean, there was definitely the dark side and the light side, for sure. Okay. And I think that my experience had been in frustration with past management, perhaps, where you say, "Oh, I could do better than that," and so I thought I'd try. I think that the frustration was being with such a big company that there were people making decisions that were affecting you at a higher level, right? So I didn't have as much autonomy as I wish I had if I had my own little design studio and was hiring and working on jobs. So that was a little frustrating, but I do feel good because I think I did build a very strong department. I think we grew a lot in what our talents were and what our capabilities were. And from the time that I started, where all we did was pick colors and fabrics and wallpaper, to actually designing the interiors conceptually, and then taking it all the way through working drawings, and then taking it to the field and doing it all soup to nuts, A to Z. Wow. we grew a lot of talent, and so that talent now that I hired out of college are now the leaders at Imagineering. So
Yeah, wow.
Wow, that's
Women.
Feel really good about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It's a continuum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
women at Imagineering. Yeah. So yeah, so I think it was I feel like I was successful in that.
So now that you're in this management role, we're here in 1996, and the concept of yin and yang comes to mind for me because you get to work on one of our favorite parks, Tokyo DisneySea, and Disney California Adventure.
So talk about those two experiences.
Talk about that.
Well, I was mostly involved with California Adventure.
Okay.
Besides the part of hiring people to do the design for TDS,
Oh, okay.
I was primarily involved with DCA.
Okay.
So yes, we knew that we were the poor child on this side of the Pacific, but we did what we could with what we had,
Yeah.
and we gave it our best shot. And so that was, it was fun. Again, I was just managing the teams and keeping them going and keeping them on budget and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, I want you to talk a little bit about the experience though, working on the Maricosta, because that was kind of pivotal because I don't know if many people know this, there was kind of a second part of it wasn't even, I don't know, Imagineering, there was the resorts group, and they were responsible for designing a lot of the hotels, and usually brought in outside architectural firms. And Tori and I were talking about this, about the difference between what outside architectural firms did and what Imagineering did. I always said the difference was, we started with a story and worked from the inside out, the story informing the design of everything.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the architectural groups, it was always, I always thought they decorated. They said, we're going to do something in this period, and they'll choose a few things from a book that look like something from that period and put it on.
Yeah.
So here they had this architectural firm that designed this amazing hotel.
That's the one in front of
Right.
the park,
The Maricosta.
Right.
And somebody saw it and said, you know what, we need Imagineering to come in here because it's decorated and not thematic and storytelling. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
well, I'm not sure if it was just because it wasn't story driven. Probably part of that was the case, but Wing got involved with it. That was Wing's realm, was all the hotels. So he had been busy, I think, with other things, and this one kind of slipped through the cracks. So when he did really take a hard look at it, he said, "Oh no, this isn't good enough." And so for some reason, instead of hiring an outside firm, another outside firm, he came to us in interiors and said, "I need you to do this job. I need you to fix this." And so there was about a team of 10 of us who worked on it day and night, and we had to turn up completely redone. And we did new themed lighting, new art glass, new carpet designs, new patterns for the marble floors. And that's the talent at Imagineering that is not in outside firms. They don't do that. They do not do that. And so they don't have the talents. The resources, right? Not that they don't have talent. They don't have the resources.
Right.
So I think at that point, Wing, it was an aha moment for Wing.
Yeah.
And I think that's when he saw that, there is some value to having Imagineering involved with these hotels. So so we did that. We were successful. He was happy. It opened. It's a beautiful hotel. And my team who worked on it did a bang up job in a very short amount of time.
Wow. Congratulations. Yeah.
So when you started for Epcot, I think you said there were like 2 or 3 people in that department. How big have you grown it now when we're in about the year 2000.
Oh, in 2000, when we were working on TDS and DCA at the same time, we were up to about 75 people.
Wow.
So it was
Yes.
huge.
Yeah.
It was huge.
But even that, when that sounds like a big number, but when you think of the scope of the work that you were doing, that's not a lot of people.
No, you're right.
Well, and if you think about how big WDI was at the time, I mean, how many
Right.
thousands of people there were, 75 people in one department wasn't
Right.
too much work.
Well, Tori, I think your group had the reputation for putting in the most hours. Seriously.
Yeah.
I know.
Beautiful.
Sadly,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. So DCA opens, it's 2001, and it looks like you're teaming up with Tom Morris again. You guys worked together on Fantasyland at Disneyland Paris, and now Tom's out in Hong Kong, where I got to go visit him. So what are you guys doing out in Hong Kong?
Well, Hong Kong was another one where, okay, there's a new market, right? Our first step into that part of Asia.
Yeah.
And so I was just like managing the interiors on that one. I had a very capable team who took, broke it all apart and did the design of it. And so I only had one trip to Hong Kong, and it was really, really, really early, in the fact finding stages. And then I never saw Hong Kong finished until probably 2010 or later when I went back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I never
So,
got to see.
so if we move forward to 2010, I was there working on Shanghai Disneyland at the beginning. And then it sounds like you guys came in and you got to work on the first real Magic Kingdom in the Middle Kingdom. So how was that?
Yes, we did. So I started on that again with some research trips to China with my colleagues, and kind of just trying to get a feel for different food trends and merchandise trends and how they rolled over there. We went to the expo that was going on there, which was a real learning experience because it was the first time that China had to, corral that many tens of thousands of people a day and move people through queue lines. And so there was a lot of lessons learned from Expo. And then we started working on the park. And again, it was a new park. It was a Magic Kingdom, but it was a different Magic Kingdom. And it was really geared for the Chinese and not for the Americans. And they didn't want an American Main Street because they don't resonate with that.
Yeah.
And cute little trains that go around the park, not so interesting to them because trains are bullet trains that take them,
Right.
So it was a big learning curve. So we worked on that for several years. And during that time, my dear friend Linda Tamura was trying to oversee 2 hotels and Mickey Avenue at the same time.
Oh my God.
And that was going to drive her to the grave. So I said, you worry about Mickey Avenue, let me take care of the hotels. And by that time I had been working a little bit on Disneyland Resorts, some of the renovations that had been going on there. So I had kind of gotten back in the hotel game a little bit. So I said, let me take that from you. So I did. And there was no talk about anybody going to Shanghai, relocating to Shanghai for the hotels. It was kind of like what we talked about earlier, about, oh, how's that going to get built, So finally, Craig Russell called me in one day and he said, we think somebody needs to take these hotels to the field. What should we do? because I was the manager of the department, so I wasn't gonna like pick up and move to China. And Mike wasn't gonna move with me to China because he was running the whole environmental design and engineering division, right? So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll go. I'll make trips. I think it would be easier to replace me as the manager of the department, or the director of the department, than it would be to replace me on the project, because I have all this knowledge of what the design and why we made the design decisions we did. And it would just be stupid to try to bring somebody else in for that. So that's what I did. So for 2015, I just traveled back and forth and back and forth. And I spent 286 nights in the hotel.
Not 285, not 287.
I hope you got mileage for
286.
that or something.
Wow.
286. My daughter kids that I was the queen of the Cary Hotel, and she's right, I was. Everybody, I knew everybody knew me. I'd walk into breakfast in the morning and they'd say, Mrs. McCullough, how would you like your eggs this morning? So, you know,
Nice.
it was. But anyway, it was a great experience. I wouldn't change it for the world. I am grateful for the experience. I am grateful for the opportunity to have been in China, to experience it, to work with them, to see their culture up close and work in their offices. And I mean, I think it was a wonderful opportunity. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier about the, join the military, see the world, join WI, see the world. And I think for all of us that had that experience of, working around the world, I walked away from it, understanding that we're all the same. The codes may be different, and there may be cultural things that are different. Yeah, but I mean, just especially when you were in the trenches with, whether you were in Japan or China or
Paris.
Germany or Paris, wherever, and you're all focused on the same end goal of making something great together. You realize we're all the same. We all just, we want to do something good. We want to connect with human beings. It really broadens your view of the world. How privileged was that?
Yeah, it was, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Were there any big challenges in getting things done in terms of like your interiors, the art glass, anything like that in China?
This is a leading question, I know.
It was, yeah. Well, remember, we're on the time machine. We went ahead and we went back and saw what happened. Yeah.
Well, getting the quality you wanted in China was the challenge.
Yeah.
And my colleagues over at the park, who were working on the theme park simultaneously while I was doing the two hotels, had the same pain and suffering. And luckily for me, for those who don't know, there's two hotels in Shanghai. One is a Shanghai Disneyland hotel that is the higher end hotel and is all done in an Art Nouveau theme. The other one was the Toy Story Hotel, which was more of a budget hotel. And of course, that was all based on Toy Story. So it was much simpler to accomplish, although the contractor on that hotel was not very good. So getting the quality we needed, even as simple as it was very difficult. But the contractor on the Shanghai Disneyland hotel was very good. And he had very good people. And so once we talked about Art Nouveau and what Art Nouveau looked like and showed them enough pictures and showed them enough examples, they started to get it. So it was okay. But I did have to bring in Disney art directors to go to the vendors and help them carve and show them, no, you got to do it this way and that way. So it was challenging. The biggest challenge was the stained glass ceiling that we had in the lobby of that hotel, because we had designed something that was probably a bit challenging to do in China. And the contractor underestimated it, he underbid it. And finally, we got them to understand what they needed to do. We agreed to pay them more money. They quit cutting corners.
Yeah.
And then we found the right art glass artists there, and then it all got done. And it's beautiful, and we're very proud of it, but it was really a challenge.
Great. So here we are in 2016, and it looks like you're waving goodbye to 40 years as an Imagineer. How do you retire at 37? Like, what?
Yeah, I hope everybody's forgotten those dates you.
Yeah, was that tough to kiss goodbye? It sounds like you went out on a high note.
Certainly.
Definitely.
I did. And I would have to say that there were very few times in my career that I would have thought that I went out at a low point. I was blessed with, fantastic project after fantastic project after fantastic project. And every one of them had its own challenges and its own learning curves, and were really great, in their own right. So, I think the hardest part about leaving Imagineering, and you guys know because you've done it, is leaving the people behind.
Yeah.
At some point you have to pull the plug and say, okay, that's the end of the projects. But we didn't have any big projects still being planned. There wasn't going to be the next Shanghai Disneyland. So it was a good time to go. Yeah. And it was hard to leave my team, but I left it in good hands with Barb Diesel, and they're surviving without me.
Yeah, it's so true what you said. Like I said earlier, for me, and like yourself, it was the journey, not the destination. We got to make, and we were lucky because we did get to make these incredible theme parks and resorts and things. But it was the experience along the way. All the great people, all those the wonderful dinners and the research trips and the long nights, working out in the field. And it's like, you have this amazing, depth of experiences that, and when I think back, as you said, it's that was the hardest part to walk away from, is those people and those experiences. But you left a wake of wonderful people and wonderful projects. So as hard as it is, it was also easy knowing that you did that.
So Tori, I think there with you, you've got something on the table that Joe and I really want to see, and we want to hear the story about this amazing new book that was released earlier this week.
What a coincidence! Yes.
Can you hand that over to me? Can you give it over to me? Oh, thank you.
Oh, okay, very good.
This is the Women of Imagineering book. And there you are, Tori Atencio McCullough. And tell us how did this come about?
Well, I'm just very fortunate that I was one of the ones that were asked to be part of this. It was Ellie Erlinson's brainchild, and it started because she was going to write down her story to tell for the family history books, right? Just her journey, and so that her grandchildren would have her story. And as she wrote it, she said, I think there's a bigger story to tell here.
Yeah.
And so that's when she started asking others like myself if we'd like to participate and write our own chapters, which was really wonderful. Yeah. And everybody had to have been there 25 years and have retired.
Okay.
And so you check those boxes, you were good to go. So we wrote our stories, we discussed how to get it published, what we should do. We ultimately said, let's try to get Disney to publish it. I mean, why not go with the power of the mouse?
Right,
And there's a lot of artwork in there that some of the authors wanted to show, and it would certainly be easier to get the releases if Disney was doing the book. So
Right.
they bought it, and
Wow.
then the pandemic hit,
Right.
stopped.
Yeah.
But it's finally here, so we're very excited, and it's been received very well so far.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I think one of the significance of this is, you guys were trailblazers.
Yeah.
I know Mike's because I started way back at Disney, and it was always kind of a boys' club. It was in animation, and I think even in Imagineering.
Yeah.
But you guys changed all that. And, by the time I got to Imagineering, I mean, I was fortunate if I worked with
Me too.
everyone
I know
here.
all of these people. We've
and I
had
just-
Katie Ferris on.
Yeah. And you guys were just a part of the fabric of what happened there. But I mean, that was not an easy journey to, for many of them to, break that glass ceiling, of this boys club. But in the end, my gosh, I mean, look at these people and the contribution you guys all made. It's amazing.
It's awesome. So
Thank you.
congratulations on your book release. And Tori, now that you've had 40 plus years of experience, you've lived and worked all over the world, you've designed some of the most amazing projects that all of us can go visit. What do you think it is that makes a guest experience timely yet timeless?
I think it's what we talked a little bit earlier about story. And I think that if you base all of your design decisions on the story that you're telling, then it will hold up, and it'll hold up through time. And if you're just not, to your point, decorating for no good reason. So I think that's why our things are still so timeless, because it's all based on a story. So
Yeah, that's true. Well, Tori, thank you so much. Everybody who's with us today, please go out and order your copy of Women in Imagineering.
And I'm sure you're going to be doing some signings, and let us know, and we'll
we'll
try to
let
get
you
it out
know.
on the
We'll definitely post it on our social media sites. And
Audio,
hopefully
that'd be
we'd love
great.
to grab some other of these amazing ladies for
if any of you are
passengers.
watching, you're always welcome to jump on the time machine with us.
Yes. And Mel, we want to talk to you too. Let's not forget that our friend Mel Malmberg was the editor on this awesome book too.
Pulled it all together.
So, Joe, I think it's time for you and I to head out.
Oh, thank you again, Tori.
Thank you, Tori. It's
Thank
been
you.
amazing.
Okay.
And, we'll see you in the future.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the ride. And we want to thank Tori Atencio McCullough for time traveling with us. And if you have any questions for Tori, please stick around for an off-the-record Q&A in just 60 seconds. So on behalf of Zeitgeist Design and Production, we want to thank you for spending an hour of your day with us on the Spirit of the Time Zoomcast. Join us again next month when our passenger will be TEA Lifetime Achievement recipient and the man behind the vision for Universal Studios theme parks, Bob Ward. May your tomorrow have the nostalgia of the past, the wonder of the present, and the promise of the future. Thank you guys again, and stick around, okay?
Get it.